So as you can see, our subject for today is sound play and gestures. And you'll see in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about 2 language facilitation strategies per week. So for this week, these are our 2, and although they're very different strategies, they do kind of have a little bit of overlap in their benefits and use with children. So let's go ahead and dive in, starting off with sound play. Now, this strategy is exactly what you would think it is. It's just playing with sounds, all right? And it's a great strategy to warm yourself up. If you have a nonverbal child, this is one of the best that you can use because it uses a sound that the child is familiar with, has probably heard before, and it just lets you kind of ease into a conversation. And if that child typically doesn't speak, they might make an utterance of just a sound because it's not necessarily a word. It's just sort of a silly thing that they can copy from you. It's also really great for children that don't speak the same language as you for the same reason. You don't have to be able to speak the same language in order to say, vroom, 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 vroom. It's just a silly thing that can build trust with any child, especially nonverbal children, children that don't speak the same language as you, and extremely shy children. This is one of my favorite strategies to use for children that just kind of need that push to trust you and start communicating with you. It's also a really great way to gain a child's interest in an activity if they aren't necessarily wanting to do that activity. So say you have a kid who's overdoing kitchen stuff at a play kitchen, but you really want them to be over at the dramatic play station if we're at Rosa Parks, right? So you might be pulling out the animals for pet week, vet week, and you're saying, oh, woof, 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 or meow, meow, and you're just making these sounds that'll make the child kind of look over at you and think, what is she doing? That's odd. And then as they pay attention to you, it can make them want to kind of join in as well. So when are we going to use this strategy? Of course, as I've been mentioning, it's when you're playing with a toy or an object that makes a sound. So it could really be in any situation, but I feel like it works best right at the beginning of working with the child, or if you're starting to lose their interest a little bit. And also during a playtime where you have a lot of different objects in front of you that you can use sounds with. Some of my favorites to use are animals, cars, cooking, just because there's so many different sounds that you can make with each of these items. So if you have a car, you can say, beep, beep, and then you can talk about how the person's angry. Why are they honking? They want them to go. They're going too slow. And that leads you into more language. You can say vroom, vroom, the person's going fast. Or you can make it go slower, like vroom, and talk about how the car is going slow or fast, the difference in cars, how maybe one car has a higher pitched sound and another has a lower pitched sound because a truck is bigger than a little smart car. For cooking, you can make like the sizzling of bacon or ding, the oven's done. So just try and see what the child's doing unless you have something you want them to be doing, such as the dramatic PlayStation, and see what kind of sounds you can do within that activity. So I've sort of broken down on this slide exactly how I like to use sound play. And it's not necessarily the only way to do it, but I found that this is the most effective for me personally. So one, you're going to want to find your child because we all know sometimes if you just have one kid and there's 16 other kids in the class, it can be kind of challenging to see exactly what station they went to. If your child's very shy that you're paired with, especially towards the beginning of the semester or treatment if you're in a clinic, just watch them for a little bit. Let them get used to you being around because if you try to jump in too fast, it might scare them off. So just kind of, be next to them, maybe silently start playing along. And then once you see that opportunity for sound play, go for it. So if the child's, cooking and then they put something in the oven and close it and kind of leave it for a minute, then maybe you say, ding, oh, I think the pizza in the oven is all done. Ding, and then show how you would open the oven. And then gauge the child's reaction after you make that first attempt. So if the child, especially a very shy child, nonverbal child, kind of freaks out by you doing that, back up again, just let them play by themselves, watch again, and then try again in the future when you see them warming up to you a little bit more, and try to maybe do a little bit of a quieter sound for the second time. And then once you have made the sound correctly, gotten the child's interest, try to get them to engage in sound play as well, right? So these language strategies are not just what you're supposed to be saying, it's what you're saying to get the child to say something. You're facilitating their language, right? So maybe you say vroom vroom and then you pause and look at them and they might look confused again and then just raise your eyebrows, go vroom vroom, and let your voice go up, because that's a cue that they're going to understand, oh, I think she wants something from me, and then they might imitate the sound, and they'll start to engage in the sound play as well most of the time. And then once you have their engagement and trust, we're going to want to start implementing other language facilitation strategies that we're going to be learning about later this semester. And the reason for that is, as I've alluded to, sound play, while it's a great introductory strategy and can be tossed in with others, you're not really getting that much language from them because you're just getting some sounds, not really even words. So while it's great to make new sounds, especially for a child who isn't talking or you don't speak the same language as, you kind of want to start moving towards getting language. So we want to implement more strategies than just this one. I've implemented some examples throughout the first part of that lecture, but here's a more in-depth dive into cooking. So say you're cooking and then ding, the cash register opens and you start getting out the money and oh, the coins are jingling, click, 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 and the food is sizzling. Oh, it's time to flip it, or the timer went off, ding, in the background, or beep, 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 the banging of pans. There's so much you can do with sound play, and I think that sometimes people just get overwhelmed with what they should be doing, and they kind of revert back to that stereotypical car or train example of, you know, chugga chugga choo choo, vroom vroom, beep beep. But if you think about it, you can implement sounds with almost everything if you just kind of think about what sounds might you hear in different environments, and then that can lead to more language stimulation. So that's all that you're going to need to know about sound play for now. If you are assigned that video or the script for this week, you might want to dive a little bit deeper into it, and your coaches are definitely going to be available for you if you want more information about that strategy.